Pick up your gear and open your chests. Throw on your armor and head out on a quest. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. On the Sword Coast, your allies will help with blades and bows and magic as well. Hey, hey, heroes on their way. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you will say again. Idle champions. From Waterdeep to Icewind, head out the shelf, all shadow fell, hey, hey. Together we stay. Walk to the monsters, walk to the boss, walk to the right, it's never a loss, hey, hey. Bad guys to slay. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you will say it again. Idle champions.
Okay, now it's working. Let me start over. Welcome, everybody, to Gaarawarr's Guide, the tutorial show. Look, it wouldn't be a stream without some kind of technology malfunction, right? Most of them you just don't get to experience, but that one you did. Today we're going back in time to talk about one of our favorite core champions, Ashara, and kind of how Ashara works and what makes her fun and unique, and the kinds of different ways to build her formation. That's what we're doing today, because we have lots of newer players in the game, and people who maybe just never hopped on the Ashara bandwagon. So, time to explore Ashara once again. With me today, as almost always, Gabe. Gabe's grabbing your questions and throwing them in a little document over here. So if you have questions during the show, fire away, as it states down below, with question : before your question, Gabe will grab it, throw it in this document. When we get to the second half of the show, I will answer questions. First half, me talking a lot. Second half, me answer questions, which I guess is me talking a lot, but you know. All right. Close that. Ashara, slot 6 champion. Again, she is one of the core champions, so that means one of the 12 that you start the game with. She's got her in a one of her skill. This is the champion Ashara skin. Okay. I'm like, I don't remember the names of them all. I've got it on random. So yeah, Ashara, slot 6 champion. So usually when you're starting off in the game, your first DPS is Jarlaxle right here. This is Jarlaxle, folks. Everybody knows. Everybody recognizes It's not Jarlaxle. Jarlaxle is on jury duty, so Commodore Crux is stepping in for Jarlaxle today. But normally you start off your game with Jarlaxle as your DPS, and as you all know, I'm sure, you focus all of your buffs onto your primary DPS champion to make them do lots of damage. Early on, that's Jarlaxle. Later on, you can start switching around. I tend to show off some Hitch just because I want to kind of make people aware that Hitch can DPS and that, you know, you can use a variety of champions as DPS. In some of my starter formations, I'll throw Hitch in, but Ashara is a really solid starter and might be where you go right after Jarlaxle if you haven't picked up an event champion that you just love and adore to be your DPS. So Ashara, female Aarakocra wizard in this game. Lawful neutral, DPS and support. So can be your DPS or can be a support champion. No affiliation, no affiliation. Base attack is a magical attack. It is magic missile. So this is a multi-attack. Once we get Ashara in here, you will notice she's going to fire away with an array of things. 3 of them. Now, this does mean this is basically a multi-attack, so you can hit multiple targets at once. And it's magical because you can see the little magic symbol, right? You can see the little magic symbol. Let's dive in. Now, the thing about Ashara is that she's all about who else is in your formation. She is obviously a starter champion. She is one of your core 12. But anytime you start dipping into champions who really rely on the types of other champions in your formation, you start dipping more into mid to end game territory. And that's because Ashara can be a starter champion and can continue to be your DPS for a very, very long time. In fact, not too long ago, from my perspective, as someone who's been playing the game for 6 years, not too long ago, Ashara was the queen DPS. And it was hard to move away from her for most people. There have always been people who have dove into certain niche DPS, who may, some of them are super end game, require lots of investment, yada, yada, yada. But Ashara was kind of that first big dive into, hey, we're going to invest a lot into building up formations for Ashara. Then she got a nerf. I put nerf in quotes because her damage didn't change. They didn't change her damage. They just changed what you needed to access it. They made it a little harder. And that's through her specializations. Ashara is all about her bonds. Ashara bond. Ashara likes to bond with friends in the formation, and her specializations reflect that. She has 2 different sets of specialization choices. One is right away. It's this first set here. You have humans, you have dwarves and elves, and then you have what's referred to as potpourri, which is a smattering, a assortment of others. Make sure when you're looking at these, I'm just going to highly recommend you read the yellow and not the white. Sometimes they update the yellow with new races, and they don't necessarily update the white because there's not a lot of space up here. So Ashara does her thing with bonds, and one of the things we're gonna dip into is like the number of people the number of qualifying members that match that bond. That's why there is a champions information targeted number here, and why it actually is important for Ashara. Some champions it's not, some champions it's a trap, but for Ashara it's what you're actually paying attention to. And what you decide right away, I mean literally right away, this is her first upgrade after putting her in the game, is she going to be your DPS or your support champion? If she is going to be your DPS, you are 100% going to pick potpourri. It's because these bonds buff champions that are part of the set that are here. So this would buff humans. this would buff dwarves and elves, and this buffs potpourri. Ashara is part of this. This increases damage of Aarakocra, Dragonborn, Firbolg, Lizardfolk, Minotaur, Tiefling, and Turtle champions. So if you want Ashara DPS, you're going potpourri. If you are using her like I do in a lot of my new player formations that I recommend for events, if you're using her as a support, and you're running Jarlaxle DPS, then you're going dwarves and elves, because elven champions include drow. Drow are dark elves. Also includes Eladrin, so you know, you would run dwarves and elves. And I don't know. I mean, there's humans out there you could DPS with. You can tell I don't use the human bond that much. So we're going to demonstrate some Ashara DPS. Just understand the concept is the same in terms of trying to get certain numbers of people qualifying for things. But we're going to build this out around an Ashara DPS formation. That's kind of what we're talking about when we're talking about Ashara meta. So right away, we're going to go potpourri. And then we're going to take a look at the second specialization set, even though we're a little far from that because we actually have to build this. But what you want to think about here, you have to think ahead. You have to think ahead when building your formation with Ashara. You have to know where you're going and who you're going to be pairing her with, because her second set of specializations is going to be based off another set of champions that you have to match in the formation. So we already know that by choosing potpourri, we need to have a certain number, and we haven't gotten to that. We haven't talked about the ability that's based around the number of champions yet, but we'll have to have a certain number of champions that match that potpourri. We're also going to need a certain number of champions that match this set, one of your second set of specializations. Okay, so we can either do half and half, exotic races, or short folk. I know that you're like, wait, half and half, that's got halflings in it. But wait, short folk has halflings in it too. It's okay. This is the one case where they're doubling and they're putting one in two different places. They did this with her nerf to try to make things a little easier for people. So half and half is going to be half elves, half orcs, and halflings. So anything that's got a half in it is in the half and half setup. Short folk, well, I'm just going to dip to the other side. We've got gnomes, we got goblins, we got halflings, we got kobolds, we got nerds, and plasmoid champions. These are all considered short folk. I want to be very clear. This doesn't... Sometimes these selections don't match other champions' references. Deal with it. It's just, this is where it is. This is how you have to make the decision. Just know where, you got to learn what's in each box, right? Exotic races is like basically everything that hasn't been mentioned yet. We got your Aasimar, we got your Bullywugs, we got your Doppelgangers, we got your Genasi, your Gith, both Gith Yankee and Gith Zerai. Now, that is now fixed. Harengon, Kalishtar, Soriel, Tabaxi, Warforged, Modron, and Yuan Ti. All of them. We got everything else. Whenever they add new, currently, whenever they add a new race like to the game, like with Gith and Plasmoids, which are recent additions to the game, they will put them where they want. Not necessarily where you want, but where they want, for reasons. Probably balance reasons, to be honest. Some people are like, wait a minute, why? And it's like, maybe balance. It just may be a balance thing. So, they'll put them somewhere, and you're going to go read and find out where they put them. So, it may take a little research to figure that out, but nowadays they're trying to match everyone. Back in my day, I need like a flashback segment. Back in my day, it's like a cane. The people were like, why doesn't Ashara match with everyone? There was no second set of specializations. It was that first set only, and they're like, but what about everybody else? And they're like, tough. She just doesn't like those people. Which I thought was a great answer, but now they added a second set, and now they're making sure she matches with everyone. They want Ashara to play nicely. So you need to figure out, who do you have that is in your stable of champions that's going to help you to fit out not only her first set of specialization choices, her first bond, potpourri for DPS, but also the second set, right? And we're going to pause here. I'm not going to flesh that out just yet because there's a lot of different ways you can do it. So, but let's talk. We're going to talk about fleshing out potpourri first after we go through some of these other abilities, so you understand kind of why we're targeting certain numbers. And it all comes down to Paragon of Keir Sabal. So this increases the potency of each of Ashara's bond abilities separately by 100% for every matching bonded race in the party. Additionally, Ashara gains the effect of a given bond if at least 4 champions are affected by it. So there's a couple things going on here. First off, it's going to multiply your bond buff. Again, the bond buff is the base buff for Ashara. Everything is about bonds with Ashara. So it's going to make this buff bigger based off the number of matching champions in the formation that you have. Okay? And then they give you a threshold that they're looking for. That's down here. 4. So Ashara will get that bond as well if you can match 4. Now Ashara's already getting potpourri, right? Because she's part of potpourri. But if you match 4, she gets it again. Enjoy. So we could run humans as the first one and then match 4 and she could get it, but she gets more power if you're going potpourri and you're matching 4, and then your second specialization you're also matching 4 because she'll get that too. So this is why we're targeting, we want to build out a formation where we're getting 4 and 4. Now remember earlier I was talking about she got nerfed. It used to be that she just had to match 3, which made it super easy to meet her threshold and get just ridiculous amounts of damage because of the dipping and taking all of these buffs. So they moved it to 4, didn't change any of the scaling, so you're still, all the damage is still there. You just have to hit a higher threshold, which means between her and her 3 other potpourri friends, and then her 4 other second specialization friends, you have to match 8 minimum total. Her plus 7 others to these sets of bonds. And then you'll get 1 or 2 filler champions, depending on, are you in Sword Coast or are you somewhere else, right, to maximize your formation. Now, yes, you could target that in, as you could choose, I'm going to go like 5 and 4 or 5 and 5. Just remember, it is only a smaller bonus, Paragon of Keir Sabal. 100%. Don't go breaking your formation just to try to match 1 more. The key is just to match 4 and 4. If your best options for the 9th and 10th champion happen to match a bond, great. But they don't need to, and you shouldn't give up power or functionality from the 9th and 10th champions to try to match another bond, as long as you've got your 4 and your 4. Okay? So the key is just make sure you're getting at least your 4 and your 4, and then dealer's choice for the fillers. All right? Because it's not going to get outrageous just because you added 1 more. All right. And then for Ashara DPS, her Bud totals. Remember, Bud is what we're basing things on down here. Your base ultimate damage. This is your actual damage per second. This is Ashara just attacked something. It takes the hit that she did, divides it by her attack speed, and gives you her actual damage per second. So this is what we're looking to maximize. We're looking to maximize a combination of Bud and how many areas we can go. We ignore everything up here. This is no. we want Bud, and how many areas we can go. So how we really make Bud take off or take flight is the take flight ability. And that requires your party to be under attack. So this means that some of her damage is actually locked behind your formation being attacked. So when the party's under attack, Ashara takes flight and increases her damage by 10% every 5 seconds, stacking multiplicatively, that's the good way, up to 20 times. Up to 20 times. Now that does mean it's going to take 100 seconds, so 1 minute and 40 seconds to maximize her damage. But that means until you have done that, until you have 20 stacks of take flight, you are not at her maximum output. And because it's multiplicative, each one stacks multiplicative, it's some solid boost, right? So that's what we're looking at now. Keep in mind, Ashara is also, I can't remember how many of these she gets, a couple of them at least. She will get more magic missiles. This is a nice bonus they give to some of these magic missiles throwers. There's at least 2 here, which would bring us up to 5. So you're going to get some bonuses from that. And then itemization, we're going to go ahead and talk about this. She has self-damage, but she doesn't have any support. She doesn't have like a damage all champions. Self-damage, take flight, that's more self-damage, right? So she really itemizes more for herself than she does for support, which is why she isn't necessarily an amazing support champion. She's sufficient when you need to use her, but she isn't going to be your best. But she is at her best when she's doing damage. She also has Paragon of Kirsa Ball and of course her bonds. Then ultimates and ultimate cooldowns. So these are her kind of her support buffs in terms of itemization, and then these are just self damage. So just know she's itemized more for herself than for anything else. And then feat-wise, I know we're jumping ahead of ourselves, but a lot of what we need to talk about in regards to Ashara is building formation. So she does have damage all champions feats. She does have self-damage feats. She does have a bond feat. Bond. Ashara bond. I still want an Ashara in a tuxedo, and I want it just to be a bond. Ashara bond is the commentary for one of her outfits. She doesn't have a lot of feats. She never really needed them. She hasn't really, obviously core champions don't really make seasons, and seasons are how they revamp champions now. But they do occasionally give some champions some help that are core champions, like Brunor. Got a little love in this last season. And Dritz as an evergreen got a little love. So hopefully at some point we'll see Ashara get some feat love, because she doesn't have a lot going on. She never really needed it before, to be honest, because she was real strong. And her ultimate is kind of your first real knockback in the game. So it's Fireball. Ashara leaps into the air, flapping her wings and pushing all enemies away from the party. So she will shove them all back with this mighty flapping of her wings. And then she sits there, summons a Fireball, and just blows up everybody around that Fireball, as we see here. Everybody gets knocked back, then Fireball. It is a very long cooldown until you have her cooldown ultimate item maxed out. So you can see I'm about a minute and a minute 45 seconds right now. But that's with max cooldown reduction. Ashara is one of the original meme champions. Her ultimate is Fireball, and its cooldown is 420 seconds. There you go. So she's so it's rough when you first get her. You need to use her ultimate selectively, because you're only going to get to use it once, probably before you're dead on a boss fight. Later on, you can get it cooled down quite a bit. All right, so let's talk about matching bonds. So again, first off, we're going to shoot for potpourri. Now there are some starting champions that can help you out with this. Technically. Like you could go Dragonborn, right? Oh no, that's not the one I wanted. Technically, you could go Dragonborn and put Archon in, but I'm just going to tell you right now, Archon's not a great support champion in general, but definitely not for Ashara. Firbolg, though, we do have a Firbolg, and he's pretty awesome. That's Tyrell. Tyrell Tall guy. So right away, and pretty solid support or tank. You can use them either way. But for the rest of this stuff, you're going to have to branch out a little bit. We can get Makos in as a tiefling. But I believe... yeah, that's going to be everything from your starters. So you are going to have to find, like I said, you could grab your 4th from Archon. But, you know, preferably that's not how you're going to go. Because it's not the greatest. Not the greatest. So you're going to want to find one more, and there are a wide variety of people available. Aarakocra, there's Keelik, you know, is another Aarakocra in the game. Mehen is another Dragonborn. Lizard folk, we got, that's Korth. Korth is our Lizard folk samurai. Minotaur currently is Toragar. There are multiple tieflings and multiple turtles. However, one of the turtles is in Ashara's slot. The other one that's kind of the go-to is Grama. I used to go real hard on Ashara formations with these 4 on new player accounts, picking up Grama early. But just know there are more tieflings available now. Nixie's kind of... hold on. Is it Nixie DP? Oh, she's got support functionality, so you could run Nixie. Let's see what we got over here. You got Talon as a tiefling over here. You got Dinar as a Dragonborn over here. Dinar I've used a lot in the past in Ashara formations. Other than Grama in this slot, you got Mehen that you could throw in. Slot 4, we're looking more probably for our second set of bonds. Yeah. Slot 5, Keelik, the aforementioned Keelik, if you wanted to throw an Aarakocra in. But again, some of these are going to be better for your second set of bonds than others. Egbert is another Dragonborn potential. Farida is a DPS champion, so you wouldn't throw her in as a tiefling. We come down here. Nope, not really. Nope, not really. Strix could function as a tiefling support. I would say currently Strix maybe not the best choice. However, a little birdie told me that this upcoming season features Acquisitions Incorporated and might have Strix in it. So, you know, there could be some potential functionality here. And then if we come all the way down here, again, we said we already have Archon. Yeah, not a whole lot. Again, you're kind of going to want some of these for your other stuff. So I'm going to build this one out around Grama, probably. I'm not really going to go into like what these other champions do. We're just going to really focus here on Ashara. So if I know that that I have some of these champions, and I just threw them in random places here, then I want to pick out my next set, right? So next set I can either go half and half, I can go exotic races, or I can go short folk. Back in the day, short folk was my go-to. There were a lot of really strong short folk supports in the game. Everything from Regis, who now is strong again, to Spurt as a kobold. We had Penelope Half Pint under the halfling. There were some solid options. Nowadays there's a lot, and it was kind of the one where you had the most solid options. Nowadays, though, the half and half is a really strong option. So is exotic. You can more easily build workable formations with all of these now. So you're not really forced into any one position. I still do love half and half, because if I do half and half, I could throw Briv in as a half orc, and then I've got one of the strongest tanks in the game. And then I can fill in whatever other halves. I could throw in some halflings and some half elves, and things get real funky. Like Avon, once upon a time, was the strongest in slot 11, so half elf made for a really strong Ashara formation under half and half. Yeah. So if you were doing that, like I said, there's Regis down here. There's a Penelope down here. There's a Briv here. There's 4, right? So Briv, Regis, Avon, and Penelope could rock out a half and half formation for you in terms of second specializations. All still really solid champions in the game. Are there some better options in some of these slots now? Sure, but that doesn't mean if you're running Ashara that's going to be better for Ashara, right? Because you still need to light up those bonds. All right. Under exotic again, Asamar, Bullywugs, Doppelgangers, Genasi, Gith are now. That is a shortened for both Gith Yankee and Gith Zerai in the game. They should both count. We can check that in a moment. And no, we'll just check it right now. I believe this was we'll see if they fixed it. Gith. Yes, I've got 1. So there's the Gith Yankee, and then if I throw in Narak, I should be at 2. Yep, they're both now working. So both Gith and Gith now count, but both of the Gith Yankee and Gith Zerai now both count for Ashara. So those are there if you would like to use them. Lae'zel, a newer addition to the game. I don't think her strength is quite online yet, but oddly enough, both the GIF have a little synergy in that Narak was given a tadpole feat, so they work together. For GIF, we only have our friend Commodore Crux. Bullywug, we've got Belushi. Asamar, I think it's like Turiel. Doppelganger, Xeraphon. Genasi, I think we have Nova, right, as a Genasi example. Harangon, Yorvin, Kalishtar, is that Solok? Is he the Kalishtar, I believe? Soriel is Dragonbait, Tabaxi, like Birdsong. Birdsong's real strong right now. Warforged, there's multiple now. Warden and Sentry, Modron, that's Nordum. Yuan Ti, that's Sasaspia. So we do have some solid options if we go in here. We've got Dragonbait and Nova here as an option. I think I had anybody from there usually. There's Xeraphon. Trying to put all of these people into a formation. I'll be honest, I haven't done an exotic one yet. I have not done an exotic formation yet. I used to just go half and half. But you've got a lot more options now, a lot more variety, and I've heard of people getting solid success in the half and half. Oh, here's another great option for your potpourri, obviously. Or Kira as Dragonborn. Do I want to change? Hold on. So let me see if I do. Yeah, actually, we're going to do that. We're going to bring Orkira in instead of Makos. Yes, Tatiana and Nova as Genasi. So there are a lot. There are a lot more options. I'm going to build out just kind of one of my favorites. It's going to be kind of old school because why not? So we'll go into kind of the half and half focus. And it would be like this. I would obviously not necessarily in this arrangement. Could probably end up more like that. And then I would get like one filler champion of my choice. If I wanted, I would actually probably still maybe want to go Birdsong. Birdsong's just real strong currently. But so is Antreus. Oh no. So I could go either way. In a 10 champion formation, I would go both Entreus and Birdsong. Let's throw Entreus in. So what we're trying to do here now is just make sure that we matched 4. We actually ended up... Oh, is Entreus a half and half? No, he's human. Who's the 5th? What did I do? I screwed something up. Hold on. Potpourri. 4. Why do I have 5 for half and half? Somebody help me in chat. I can't do math on stream. Halfling. Half elf. Halfling. Half orc. Why do I have a 5th? The math must be off. It must be adding wrong. It has to be adding wrong. I don't even have anyone in a background formation. All right, folks. It's just doing math wrong. It's just doing math wrong. Yeah, it's still got 5, and I don't have enough people in the formation for that. All right. So just make sure you're doing your math wrong, or math right, because sometimes it's going to do its math wrong. Tyrell is a Fearbolg, not a half and half. All right. So now we've got our potpourri. We've got Paragon of Kirsabal, and we have 4 and 4. That's what we were looking for. So each one is giving a nice bonus, and it's applying, and this is also a half and half is also now applying to Ashara as well. So as you see now, bond now applies to Ashara, bond now applies to Ashara. So she's getting all of those things. See, potpourri increases damage to Ashara by E15 and increases damage to Ashara by E15. Thanks, I'll take it. And she gets here. There's like more attacks. So yeah, I think we're up to like 6 magic missiles now. Yes, 6 magic missiles. So we're going to move this forward. So the key here again. Build out a formation. I don't know if this is, I'm going to have to level this up. I don't know that this layout, in case somebody wants to copy my layout. I don't know if this layout is good. Hold on. Let's double check. These are just kind of preferred specializations. Plus in this, we're going to need to wait on that. Preferred specializations kind of for what I'm aiming for here. Now remember, Ashara, if you're using Avrin with Ashara is lawful neutral. That means you need to pick mirror focus neutral. It doesn't matter the number that shows for Avrin's first specialization choice. It matters what your DPS is. Okay, that's always the thing. The number is a trap. Please remember that. Now the key I'm looking for is, because I have Entreus in my formation, did I get all of the little circles to light up? And I did, so I don't have to move anybody around. Ashara is a magic DPS champion, so if you're using Regis, we go Ruby Weakness Magic. And then we rock this out as far as we can, right? So this would be a pretty basic formation if you had these champions, but again, very few of these are core champions, because Ashara, while being a core champion, she gets better as you get more champions. You can use her still as a DPS, as your starting DPS, even if the only bond you might be able to come close to filling is potpourri. She can still be a solid DPS for you. It's just that once you can unlock enough champions to build out her second bond, she really takes off. There's a lot of flying references in Ashara, obviously, but that's really when you see her get into kind of that mid to end game damage. Early on, even if you only have like Ashara, Tyrell, and Makos in, and you only have 3, she's getting that bond, right? Because you picked potpourri. She is getting a solid buff. She's just not getting it again, right? So you can still run potpourri, you can still run Ashara, Tyrell, and Makos with only 3, and you can still get you can still have a good early game DPS. You're just going to need to try to match that 4th bond for her to transition into kind of mid game DPS status. and you have to get that second bond. That second bond if you want to really, really blow up her damage. I guess we have some time. Let me go ahead and pull out all of these, and let's try to build another formation. Let's go and say, where you at? Where you at? All the way over here. Okay, so we're going to stay Potpourri because she's still our primary DPS. But let's say we're going to go exotic races. So let me see what I can do with exotic. Now, I'm still going to go with my go-tos here for Potpourri. Why is my... Oh, there we go. Grama. I'm like, who am I missing? Grama. But here, let's look at damage. So right now, she's still getting E14 damage from Potpourri, even though we haven't triggered the second bond, even though we haven't triggered like 4 people. And she's gonna get an EO5 bonus off of that, which is nice. She's just not gonna get it again, right? Until we drop that 4th champion in. Now she's gonna get well, it's now up to E15 because this has boosted it up to E15, and she's going to get it twice instead of just once. Right? So again, the first thing is to get Paragon of Kirsabal, just to affect Potpourri with 4 champions. Then your second goal in learning to build your formations is to get the second bond. So let's see. We have Aasimar, Bullywug, and this formation. Sure. Blueshie is our Bullywug, so she could go in here. We can do Nova. Nova does not need to be in the tank column. I know that's going to shock some people because it does say she's tanking and support, but Nova actually in, like, if you were in Sword Coast in kind of this position, is kind of great for reasons. It's kind of great for reasons. So right away we should be into double exotic, and we are. We can see it right there. So then we just need to see what else do we want to flesh this out with. Obviously, I'm going to want Birdsong because Birdsong, Bird Strong. And then we could go any number of people. Any number of people. Like we've got Commodore Crux. Who do I want? Maybe a filler champion from there. We got Xeraphon over here who could go in. And we have, like, we could run Tatiana, but I feel like we've already got some solid tankiness here. So maybe we do someone supportish over there. See, I told you I haven't done the exotic races that much. So we'd have to go Xeraphon. We'll just do well, actually, do we have high whiz? No, low. High. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. And we're gonna do Narak. And we're gonna move this maybe over there. Is she high wisdom? No. Okay. So we're gonna throw in Narak, and we're gonna put Narak next to some people who have high wisdom. Because that's a Narak thing. And then we'll support like that. And now we've hit up all of our thing. We've actually gotten more on the exotic races. Oh, I overdid it. Oh well. Then maybe I'd probably drop Xeraphon out and I'd throw somebody else. Like, once again, Entreus. Again, if you can fit in like for your filler champions or 9th and 10th filler, if you don't already have some solid meta champions in, get them in. Get them in the formation. Oh yeah, we can move Narak back here. That still hits all the high wisdom people. And then you would just level this up and go wild, right? So there's multiple options for you. However you want to do it is up to you. It depends on, like, as you're going along, as you're unlocking champions for Split the Party, as you're unlocking season champions, like what's going to fit in and make it work for you, right? Now this past season, there wasn't a lot of variety. There was a halfling, so you could have picked up someone for half and half and short folk, but then we got a bunch of humans, and then a dwarf, and that doesn't necessarily work for Ashara DPS. Because potpourri is always your first option, and the humans and the dwarves are in the first set of specializations. So this season, only really Regis would have helped out. So check in each season. I know, like in next season, did they announce, folks? I know who next season's supposed to be. But did they actually in the YouTube short, did they say the champions? So I don't want to get in trouble. Somebody throw in chat. Anyway, if it's who I think it is, there is at least another half and half. There's at least another half. There should be a half and a half and a tiefling in this next season. At a minimum. At a minimum. Season 5 shapes were not okay. Good. All right. And what is? Oh, and then we got a gnome. So we got short folk. So there are some options for Ashara coming in this next season. As I spoiler one of the, it's not a spoiler if they announced it. Yeah, Evil and Omen, Strix Vi. They didn't say the other? Come on. They better have said the gym, yeah. Gym, dark magic, but human. So there's options for you to build some stuff in the coming season, and again, that's kind of how you make your priorities in unlocking your champions. Who are the season champions? Got to get them all, and then fill in for whatever version of split the party you're going to, with either speed champions or meta pushing champions. And then if you can cobble together an Ashara formation for that, great. Again, if you can at least hit 4 in potpourri, Ashara can carry you through the early game, and into the mid game, solidly into the mid game. You will need to then build out at 4 in the second bond if you want to continue to use her as a long-term DPS champion. And she does scale well, because look, she is a core champion, so she's always, if you see my item levels here, they're in scientific notation, because she's always, as a core champion, she's always getting dupes. All those regular silver chests, all those regular gold chests, she's even in the pool for electrums. She's going to get a lot of item levels, and thus a lot of boosts, just natural boosts to her damage that you don't even have to really hunt for. So keep that in mind. I think we're going to call it there. We're going to go to break early, unless people want me. I don't feel like I have to build a halfling formation out anymore, but we could. Or a short folk. You know what? Let's do it. So who would I ditch here? Let's look at short folk. So if I go short folk, might as well do an example of all of them, since we've got time. So again, potpourri, and then I'm going to go all the way over here to short folk. That's gnome, goblin, halfling, kobold, nerds, and plasmoid now. So we're going to show some... we're going to show Regis again. He's just kind of a go-to for me when there's halflings involved. Now here's the thing. Stokey is a gnome, so you could rock Stokey. We got... Yeah, not really. I'm like, anybody there I want? No, not really. Freely was always a solid option. The luckiest boy. You've got kobolds, so you could run Human if you wanted. You've got Lazaps, who is a goblin. We got Vi or Penelope over here. Technically, Zorbu counts too, if you wanted to try Zorbu support. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Nobody over here, right? Yeah, nobody. So how many we got? I got 1, 2, 3. I kind of wanted... You know what? I kind of want to run Vin Ursa, and let's say we throw Human in. And then I'm just going to run Briv as a tank. Right? Because that'll work. That'll still get me 4 and 4, and then I use Briv as a filler. And now I can run a formation, right? Now this, obviously I have Vi in here. You could go again, Penelope or Zorbu. All of those qualify. I could just go all in on short poke. We could use Lazaps as our shorty tank. We could take like Human out, and we could put like a Strongheart in instead or something, right? It's kind of whatever you have available, as long as it's good. If it's a solid option, and you're gonna light up your bonds. The bonds are the key. So always aim for 4 and 4. You don't got to go higher than that. All right. All right, folks. We'll be back shortly. If you have questions, I've got a stack of them here. I've got about 8. We could use a lot more questions because we have an extended Q&A session after this. So hit me up with those questions in chat. Gabe's trying to grab them. Just make sure that you lead with question : so that Gabe knows it's for me. Otherwise, we just kind of assume you're asking people in chat and not me. So give me questions to answer. Our song for the break is Find Familiar, because there's no song for Ashara. Oh well.
When you're feeling low and against the flow, you just don't know which way to go. Stuck in a cave, down a well, or in the deepest layer of hell. Inventory's full, party's gone. Where did everything go wrong? Do you do? How do you pull through? When the adventure isn't done with you. Cast find familiar, and your day will be looking clearer. Cast find familiar, and you'll never be alone. Cast find familiar, and you'll never need to fear. Cast find familiar, and you'll always have a friend to call your own. You could get a crow or a magic toad, they'll come with you everywhere you go. Perhaps a bat or a fairy cat. Some wizards say that's where it's at. See through their eyes, hear what they hear. They will always lend an ear. You won't feel so blue. They're with you. Their camaraderie always comes through. Cast find familiar, and your day you'll be looking clearer. Cast find familiar, and you'll never be alone. Cast find familiar, and you'll never need to fear. Cast find familiar, and you'll always have a friend to call your own. Take charcoal, herbs, and incense, set in place. It only takes an hour to have a friend for all your days. Cast find familiar. and your day will be looking clearer. That's fine, familiar, and you'll never be alone. That's fine, familiar, and you'll never need to fear. That's fine, familiar, and you'll always have a friend to call your own.
And welcome back. And I'm trying not to chuckle from my Zorbu Hamilton reference. Zorbu as King George is basically the best crossover ever. Yeah, it works so well. It works so well. So we're back and we're gonna do questions. Imaginal Disc started off with, doesn't Ashara buff herself if there's a big enough group? I thought if there were like 5 humans and she picked humans, she also buffed herself. It's 4. The number's 4. The magic number in this game is 4, even though we all know that 3 is the magic number. But it's 4 for bonds. And yeah, it will work. She'll get that self-damage, but she could get it twice. She could get it twice if you pick Potpourri. So why leave, a double-digit buff on the table in terms of, order of magnitude, when you could just pick it up. When you just pick it up and play with it. Decassine, if you just filled out the first bond or the second bond only, would that be equivalent to filling both with 4? No. Nope. They are both separate. They are both separate buffs. You are qualifying. Each specialization choice is its own buff. They are the same amounts. But the way you think about it, like on my account here, what am I at? Like E15. Again, I have a pretty high Ashara. Here's an E15 bond buff, right? Now, here's the thing. If I match Potpourri with 4, it's going to be E15, and then I get it again. So 1 E15, 2 E15, and then if I match Short Folk to 4, or Exotic, or whatever, there's 3 E15. There's 3 separate E15 buffs. All multiplying. Think of it as a multiplicatively stacking bonus here, because you would just start off with 1. If you only matched, like say you ran humans to 4, and then you didn't do anything with your second bond, Ashara gets 1 E15 and doesn't have any multiplicative bonuses. But if you can bond the second one, say you ignore, technically this could work. You could say humans for the first one, and halfling and half for the second. You at least get 2 E15s multiplied against each other, which is better than just getting 1, right? But if all you did was just match Potpourri, you're getting 2 E15s, and it only takes 4 champions, and Ashara is one of them. So at the very least, if you're doing Ashara DPS, Potpourri, if all you do is match Potpourri, you're getting 2 bonuses that are multiplying against each other. At least do that. Otherwise, you're not really seeing what Ashara can do, and other DPS are just going to wipe the floor with her in terms of damage. And if you can get all 3, way. Okay. Imagine this comes back again. If you match more than the 4, does the buff get stronger, or is it two different sets of 4 the ideal maximum? I think with the it all comes down to who is meta in terms of your filler champions. Truly, you saw me throw in Strongheart. Strongheart doesn't match anything, right? But that's because Strongheart's real strong. Briv, in this situation wouldn't match anything, but Briv's real strong. I used Entreus earlier. Entreus didn't match any of them, but Entreus is real strong. That's what we're looking for. BBEG or Entreus here. BBG's 3. Dang it. Well, If we were using someone other than Gromma, then, you know, if you're looking at super strong, you want to look at kind of what your super strong meta supports are, or just super strong in your account supports are, and either try to choose your bond around that if you can hit 4 on the second one, or use them as your fillers. If you can double up, if it happens that, like, once upon a time, like, lots of people from Potpourri were super strong and I would run 5 or 6 of them, sure. As long as they are contributing on their own and you're not just putting them in to get another bond beyond 4. Getting up to 4 is important. Is super important. But getting beyond 4, not as much. Not as much. What we got next? McNeil DJ. Where do Gith Zerai and Plasmoids fit into the boss? So Gith Zerai and Gith Yankee both under exotic. Plasmoid is under short folk. I know a lot of people were like, "We want that under exotic," but they put it into short folk for whatever reasons. I think she is considered a shorter. I guess you can see her. Look, she's short. And I guess they've just decided, you know what, all our plasmoids are going to be short. They threw under short folk, for at least for Ashara. I haven't checked under some of the others. Like, I haven't... Ishi, I don't know, does Ishi count her as short? Where is Ishi again? Here's Ishi. Shorties. Yeah, plasmoid. So there you go. But it just kind of depends. Sometimes you'll see shorties like Sorials are under shorties, but I think for Ashara, Sorials are under exotic instead of short folk. You know, they could align some things a little better, but they haven't. That makes her look taller than she is. Man, that's fair. That's fair. Imaginal Disc, again, when Human's specialization changes his affiliated species, stop you right there, it doesn't. So we could just stop that conversation. When you're leveling up Human, and you're choosing, did we say Humans? We meant Lama and Hello Few Mercenaries. If you read this, what it says is the Hello Fellow Humans ability now uses the most populous race in your formation instead of humans. It doesn't say it changes what Human counts as. Because it doesn't. What Hello Fellow Humans does is just buffs based on the number of some kind of champion in the formation. And some kind of champion has nothing to do with what race Human is. So it doesn't change anything. Human is a Human. Human is a Human or a kobold. Human or kobold. They will count for either. They might count for both, frankly, but you would never choose human for Ashara's bond anyway. You just wouldn't. Not if you were using Ashara DPS, maybe Ashara support, but then this doesn't matter. Not really. So yeah, potentially as a support, but not as DPS, which is what we're really talking about today. So this does not change. The specialization does not change what Human's race is at all. A lot of people get confused on that. Even when Human came out, people were like, "Wait, so it changes his?" No, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. Imaginal Disc. Wait, do the bonds stack multiplicably? Yeah. That's the good way. Anything else? Lurking Rider. That's not a real question. Lurking Rider. Okay. Let's go back in and do some generic stuff. Valdemar Night Road. This one's a long shot. Is there a way to close a variant without completing it after clearing the area requirement? No. Once you get to that point where the pop-up box says complete or continue, if you hit continue and then go here, that's going to complete it. There's no way to get out of it at that point. There's no way to get out of it at that point. You have finished it. It is done. And yeah, I get it. Completing something like Twilight Twist can feel like a bummer, but I think I finally completed it, and I was like, whatever. Yeah. Double Motherless. Is it better to directly buff Artemis or other champions that are observed by Artemis? For the first question. Yes. Both. Artemis, unlike Archon, can both receive and observe, and gets both, and gets the effects of both. So we come over here. All right, leveled up. So observance. Artemis observes and copies the positional formation abilities applied to other DPS champions in formation, and gains a copy of those abilities on himself at a higher amount of their effectiveness, even if he himself already receives that effect. So he can get it. He can do it all. So Ruby Encouragement observed. He gets it at E15, and then Ashara at a higher percentage, and he ends up with a much bigger bonus. So it can be both. It can be either. You just kind of have to figure out how you're building your formation. I am not an Artemis main. A disclaimer. So if you want like super deep information on Artemis formations, you're going to have to hit up the official Discord. Second part of the question was, which champion halves the patron missions? Well, it isn't a half. But we're talking about Finn. I think if Finn starts off as doubling credit, which would half your requirements. But then Finn has a feat that takes it even further. So once you get Finn's feat, it's ridiculously low. I think it's 4 times credit. Unlike Starheart gives you like triple credit for season stuff, Finn gives you like quadruple credit for patron stuff. Yeah. Is the new Narak feat worth it? Or should I spend gems on pigments? It's really up to you. We're talking about corrupted gems here under the new Mind Flayer Emergence event. I feel like I need to know if the rest of the Ceramorphosis champions first and can't decide if it's a good option or not. Look, I normally, under this stuff, earning your gems, normally I'm like, just treat the feats as preview week. Like, here's the old Narak feat. So in 6 months, or in a certain number of months, I'm going to be able to get that Narak feat. And then Valentine has one. Normally that's how I treat it. But if you'll notice, that Narak feat is missing. I just bought it. I was like, yes, please. Because at some point I'm gonna want to run a full absolute adversaries formation, and I'm gonna want to throw Narak in and get as many Ceramorphosis stacks as possible, because it's multiplicatively stacking with buffs to the pre-stack multiplier. So I just went ahead and got it. If you want to wait, it's going to be 6 months before you could pick up that feat again if you don't get it. If you don't get it with corrupted gems. And we know that there's more absolute adversaries coming, but we don't know the timeline. We don't really know the timeline yet for like, when are they all? I think we've been told one's coming soon-ish, but we don't necessarily know the timeline for others. And of course, we have no way to know how good they're going to be. So if you don't get it now, you're going to have to wait 6 months from now. Or you could wait a few months, because it's going to stay in the shop. Even after this Mind Flayer Emergence event ends, all of this stuff stays in this shop until the timer runs out. So this is the timer, this 6 days thing. This is from the last Emergence event. So all of this new stuff is going to stay until a week into the next Emergence event, which could be months from now, right? So you could wait. You could wait. Dozzy9, I had a long break from the game. Welcome back. As I say to everybody who took a long break from the game, if you had signed up for the newsletter back then and didn't unsubscribe, check your email. Check your regular email. Check your spam folder. If you still have all of those newsletter emails, all those codes are still valid. Punch them all in. Get fat loot. Maybe even get some champions, depending on how long ago it's been, because they give out free champions that way too. I recall it wasn't, back when I played, I recall it wasn't that important to have champions from the same affiliation. True. Early on in the game, their design strategy was to make affiliations fun to play together, but not OP. They said, well, we don't want you to have to use them all. But back then, there weren't a lot of champions in the game. So they have evolved their strategy, and now there are affiliations with affiliation bonuses, and they really synergize together well, and using more of them is a big deal. They don't always necessarily have to be all of them, but more of them can be a big deal. So, like, here's a Baldur's Gate of 3 DPS, and they barely worked with each other. Yeah, they still don't work together that well. You're still going to want to pick one, primarily, Delana. But you know, where you go from there is up to you. So yeah, some of them are like, some of them are like, hey, we've got a huge group and you can mix and match however you want. Some of them are like, hey, you just want to stack us up together and ignore others. It really just depends on the affiliation and how they work together and how many of them you want to combine, and if how many of them are meta or not, etc. Yeah, Companions of Paul pretty much had gold find as a reward for stacking them. Yeah, not anymore. They don't do gold find anymore. Only Regis does gold find in Companions of the Hall now. And the rest of them do Mithril Hall stacks, and there's some big bonuses there. Yeah. So yeah, that did change. That has evolved, and it works for some affiliations, not others. So Heroes of Erois synergize well. They had a season. The Companions of the Hall. I mean, we're currently in the Legends of Mithril Hall season, which features 3 of the companions. The other 2 did get buffs and adjustments so that the companions do synergize well together. Who else? The Heroes of the Plains have always kind of worked well together. But they worked well separately. Their synergy all relies on Alindra. So if Alindra is in the formation, they're just being amazing on their own. Heroes of Baldur's Gate. Wait, did I say that already? No, I didn't. Heroes of Baldur's Gate did get a season. A lot of stuff changed about them, but again, you don't necessarily have to use them specifically. You can choose to mix and match a little bit. Hold on. Yeah, so as you can see, there's a lot. But their focus is favored foes, which doesn't mean you have to use them together. It's just some of them do work well together in different scenarios. So you would pick certain ones for certain situations. And there are other champions also that aren't Heroes of Baldur's Gate that have favored foe mechanics that you can use them with. Stuff like that. But certain groups like Force Grey still doesn't synergize together. The Dark Order is still an anti-synergy team. We're the C team, not necessarily great working together. Ak Inc. is the next season, so they're being reworked. Hopefully, Ak Inc. members will support themselves a little better, and we'll see what happens. TechX80, what do you think about adding a familiar slot to auto progress with a long timer? It's been asked for on Dev Insights repeatedly. They've just never done it. I don't know why. They put familiar stuff in the potion manager, and they still didn't put one up here. I don't understand. So I don't know. You got to take that to Dev Insights, because I don't know why the ones on the potion. Well, I kind of know why the ones on the potion manager were prioritized, but I don't know what their reason is for not necessarily implementing one on auto progress. Yeah. Oh yeah, the awful ones are new. They arrived to the game with a synergy effect already that works well. So did Black Dice Society. So once they transitioned into this idea that yes, we want affiliations to work well together. The new ones that were added to the game have been built with that in mind. But there are older ones. There are older ones that need to come back and be reworked. Yeah, Tech. I don't see why it wouldn't be okay. Like it's a weird thing. Like a familiar on the auto progress. I get why some people want it. I don't know. Like I feel like it only really works if you're actively playing the game, and if you were doing offline progress, it's not going to do, or in the background, it's not going to do what people would want it to do because of the way that works. But yeah. And maybe that's part of the reason they haven't implemented it. I don't know. And that's kind of the question that needs to be asked on Dev Insights. Not so much can we get, but why is it we haven't seen this yet, right? Then you may get more of their thoughts on what's going on. Right? It's phrasing your questions on Dev Insights or even here. But really, Dev Insights is important to getting the answer you're really looking for. And sometimes getting an answer at all. Ricardoso, any word on when I can throw money at the game for the Hammermon skin? Still list how to get information when I hover in Human skin screen. So here's the thing. Hammermon is my favorite Human skin. It's this one right here. It's the dwarfs. This was specifically a reward from Kickstarter for kickstarting a Dwarven Forge thing. It was specifically, hold on. I have this because I specifically kickstarted this. This is my dwarf D20 holder. Hold on, it's gotta hide my face so it zooms in on that. Right, there we go. Kind of, nope. It just wants to zoom into my face. Anyway, the cool part about this, it lights up. It lights up like it's a forge, right? But there were a bunch of these. This is the only one I got. There were a lot of different. There was like a phoenix and some different stuff. Obviously, I went for the dwarf because dwarf. But it's just like show off your favorite D20, and there was stuff for smaller ones. You could get a setup that built around that, and you could have all your dice on it. It was really cool stuff, right? And so they threw this. They worked with them and threw in this Hammermon promotion. Usually, you have to wait like 6 months for that stuff before there's an exclusivity period before they'll put it somewhere else. But the thing is sometimes any kind of contract they make with another group could potentially have a longer exclusivity period. And I don't know. Usually you have to wait 6 months. It's been over 6 months. So that's one of those questions you got to take to Dev Insights and go, when can we see this? Right? Because obviously we haven't yet. If you guys haven't been seeing it, I feel like, geez, I don't know if it's going to be a gem shop thing or a wild offer thing. So yeah, but that's my favorite. That's my favorite. Yeah, Lurking Rider. The Phoenix one was neat. I think Lauren got that one, but yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. Serbo. I see a lot of talk of Valentine being used with Artemis. How does that work? Well, from what I hear. Is that enough? Is that enough of an answer? All right, let's throw Artemis back in again. That's probably not enough of an answer. So, we're probably going all hail to God brain here. So let's look at our two champions in question. Again, we talked about Artemis's big thing being observance, positional formation abilities, right? Valentine's big thing is also positional formation abilities. What she wants is for you to focus every single positional formation ability onto her, right? Now, but I want to point out, and then she shares it with a DPS at a higher rate. But here's the thing. They literally call out, this happens after Artemis's observation. Which means it's not the OP thing you think it is. I mean, it works. It works. You still get a little bit of a boost, but it's not like, oh, we're gonna just go wild, like, because it happens after. If it happened before, it would be ridiculous. It happens after. So in this situation, you have to hit not only Valentine with all the PFAs, but then you also have to hit the other DPS champions, the DPS / support champions that you're using for Artemis to observe off of. You don't have to hit them, but you could. She's gonna, if you feed them all into her, she's gonna feed them all. She's gonna feed everything onto those DPS support champions, and then Artemis will observe. But it's like it doesn't really work that way. So I don't know. I feel like when she came out, it sounded like when she came out, people were like, "Oh, it isn't as great as I'd hoped." But things evolve, right? Look, when Artemis came out with this kit, with the kit he has now, he was just meh. Like people were like, "Oh, Artemis kind of sucks," because at the time there just weren't enough DPS / support champions that had strong buffs to really make Artemis even worth it. And there weren't enough strong, like super strong positional formation abilities either. So he was just like, eh. And then over time, they added more champions to the game that supported Artemis. And now Artemis is, kind of a big deal. So the game evolves. The game's constantly going to evolve. And sometimes they will introduce something like this situation with Valentine, and right away it didn't sound like people were super excited about Valentine with Artemis, but now we're getting a lot more PFA meta champions, and yeah, maybe that's changing. Again, I'm not an Artemis main, so I'm not going to be following all of the week by week Artemis shenaniganry as new stuff comes to the game. But I know, she just got a new feat that buffs Socialite quite a bit. Socialite is the ability that shares stuff, so she has an 80% Socialite feat now. And that's nice because that's boosting against multiple PFAs. The feats in the emergent shop this time, the two new ones, were really well chosen. I think we missed one. Let me make sure we get this one here. Can I never do that right? There we go. All right. Sir Lance, in your game, you display all the champions at the bottom on the screen at once. Yes. On my game, I have to scroll left and right to level up the champions. Yes. So, under settings, interface. Yes, narrow bench boxes. So if I turn off narrow bench boxes, I get the OG UI with the fatty bench boxes, where we used to have to scroll back and forth all the time, which I never minded, honestly. People complained about it a lot, but I was all like, huh? And why do I like this? I like it because I can read everything really easily. I see all the numbers real easily, and I don't got to squint at all. And then once we get narrow bench boxes in, sure, you can see all the champions at once, which, but for me, it's kind of a trade-off. I can see every champion, but I gotta, the numbers are smaller. The numbers are smaller. Oh, which is why I've scaled up the UI as much as it can go. So yeah, it's a setting option. D2 Crafty one, still confused on the Ceramorphosis stack. And how it works. How do you get more stacks? So right now, Ceramorphosis is a function of Lae'zel. And in terms of champions with abilities that can contribute a Ceramorphosis stack, it's just her, right? So your formation gains 1 stack due to the Mind Flayer, Tadpole, and Zell's Brain. And that increases the effective lethal coordination by, well, for me, a large number for each stack, and it stacks multiplicatively. That's the good way. And there's item support, and if we come over here, you see that because it's buffing straight up 940 and a half, it's not 100%, and then we get a post-stack multiplier. That means it's pre-stack support, which is the good way, and that makes this item a target for gilding, and it means you want to run these, but only once you have multiple stacks, right? Because if you have nothing to multiply it against, it doesn't mean anything, really. Like, I'm only getting a 940.5% boost here, right? Narak has a feat, courtesy of the new Mind Flayer emergence. And I do have it in, right? Yes, the Illithid Tadpole feat, which shows the art from Sarah and Morph. Not just one. I could have just gone with one of them, I guess, but additively increases Ceramorphosis stacks by 1. I know it also increases damage while chambers by 25%, but I don't care. All I care about is additively increases Ceramorphosis stacks by 1. So now when I come over here to Lae'zel, I now have 2 stacks, and I went from a 940.5% buff to an EO4 buff. 1 EO4. Thank you. So right now, that's it. Right now, we have a max of 2 stacks. Now, Lae'zel is part of the Absolute Adversaries. This is from Baldur's Gate 3. Pay no attention to the spoiler. No, it's in there. It's fine. We know Astarion is coming to the game at some point in the future. That's as much as we can say at the moment. And at some point, we're getting more absolute adversaries. I think they've confirmed at least 4. And what these are the origin champions in Baldur's Gate 3. So when you start the game, you can roll your own custom character, or you can pick from a set of origin characters, and you can play the game as them. We're going to get a set of those in Idle Champions. I believe there's 6 plus the Dark Urge, but the Dark Urge is kind of another custom champion. So I don't know if we're getting a Dark Urge. Who knows? But I think they've confirmed at least 4, but we don't know who. I don't know. Don't hold me to that. So spoiler alerts. All your characters have tadpoles in their head. So we're going to get at least 1 stack from each of them. Now, whether they add more feats to other champions in Idle Champions is up to them. I think I'm on board with this idea that every single champion in the game that has where is it? That has a Mind Flayer skin should have a tadpole feat. I'm on board for that. Because that would explain why Narak has one. It would mean that maybe Jam Jam might get one. Zorbu could get one, because Zorbu has a Mind Flayer skin. Hitch could get one. Mitch. Everybody loves Mitch. Mitch could get one. See, there's Mitch. I think Alcoria has a Mind Flayer. Like, I would love to see a tadpole feat on all of those, on all the Mind Flayer skin champions. But right now we just have one for Narak. And it's pretty guaranteed that we'll see one on each of the absolute adversaries, because it makes sense for them to come into the game with a tadpole in their head. So yeah, for right now, you don't get more stacks outside that 1 feat. In the future, more stacks. Just know that Ceramorphosis, while at the moment not performing as much as maybe you'd like it to, it multiplicatively stacks, and it has pre-stack item support and pre-stack feat support. Those are all the things you're looking for a super strong ability We just have to wait for the other champions to arrive. Just gotta wait for the other champions to arrive. Logger Tiger UK. I think I got that right. With the weekly free chests from the newsletter, are they unique or can you wait until you get 4? Do they have pity timers? So, they will never have another weekly chest that is a Slay the Darkness weekend with whatever the chest was, with whatever the chest name was. Hold on, let me find out. Here we go. Gold Slayers reward chests. They will never have another weekend that rewards this chest. And in fact, after this weekend, this chest will, the only way you would ever be able to get this chest again would be if you won one of the famous world famous Dev Insights chest drawings for 42 gold chests of your choice. But here's the thing. Does it have a pity timer? Yeah. Because you can get 1 from the newsletter, and then you could buy a pack of 3 for $5 and run your pity timer. So that's the thing. They give you one free, and then they make their smallest purchase 3 more to get you to the 4 for the pity timer, which this purchase would guarantee you a golden epic for Artemis. But it would also get you a guaranteed epic for one of these 5 champions because you'd hit your pity timer. That's the combo here. It's the 1 plus 3 that they're throwing your way. So I used to, once upon a time when I had more disposable income, I don't really have much anymore. Once upon a time when I had more disposable income, I bought the weekend chest like almost every weekend. Because $5 and I get a golden and another guaranteed epic. Sure. Sometimes I would throw down for the shiny too. But yeah, you combine the newsletter chest with like a 3-pack to hit your pity timer. But that chest will never return. They've created unique art for almost 6 years now. Coming up on the 6-year anniversary of Idle Champions, folks. And there's been unique chest art for weekend chests, and now there's the weekday chests, they could just give you their own, right? I can't remember. But yeah, I think there might have been one time. There might have been one time where they had the same 5 champions, but I think it was different chest art. I don't remember. Bill Slowski, what do you think about season 5 starting next week? I think it's really fast. I've known about this for a while. I just couldn't say anything. Yeah. No, whoo. Here's the thing. I think I think most people are done with this season. I mean, this was, in terms of getting your quest done, this was the easiest season ever. In large part because Strongheart arrived, right? I just haven't done this one because I'm mad at it. But yeah, it's been super easy to run through. I'm gonna clear 120 naturally. And yeah, I'm ready for the next season. I'm ready for hacking. Here's what I'm ready for. I'm ready for rebalances to another set of champions. Because that's the thing. It's not just about all the stuff you're doing and the quests and things. And I don't get hung up and worried about having to grind these out. What I want is a rebalance on some more champions. So the more often they can rebalance champions, the happier I am, right? Because there's 123 champions in the game, and not all of them are in a good place. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what changes they make to the Akink characters that they chose for this season. In terms of quests and stuff, look, I don't stress out about this stuff. The only thing that I know that I need to focus on each day is just make sure I knock out the 3 dailies. And honestly, I built my season farm formation the first week and have just made slight adjustments to it to make sure I'm getting these on a regular basis. More often than not, all I had to do was just load the game up and it had already completed them for me while I went offline, because I shut my computer down every night, which means I have to shut my client off every night. And when I do, I put it into my season farm mode, and that got everything done for me. And then on Wednesdays, when new seasonals would come in on stream, I would just take a look at them and go, oh, it's mostly done. And then oh yeah, those will all get done on their own. And then what's the ones that I have to work on? And then I just adjust my formation for that, right? So I don't think I think the way they've set up the tuning on all of the quests is such that you don't have to stress out about it. And that's even if you don't have Strongheart. I say this because I finished all of these milestone quests this season before Strongheart even came in the game. And now Strongheart's with a fee, is going to give you triple credit on all of them. So, yeah. I'm ready for it. Plus the rewards it's nice to get free stuff for just doing what I'd be doing anyway. But really, I want the rework on the champion. So I'm looking forward to a new rework. All right. TechX Deity. What day does the season change on? Is it Wednesday? Probably. Season ends in 4 days, 1 hour, and 24 minutes. I would assume if the next one's starting immediately, then the next one starts in 4 days, 1 hour, and 24 minutes. So it should be Wednesday. It should be Wednesday at noon. Yeah. Now, the one thing we don't get because they're doing these back-to-backs is we don't get a preview week. Last couple of seasons, the week before the event, the week before the season started, the changes to the champions went live, and you could start getting them through discounted time gates. It's not happening. See, there's still only the 5 current season champions discounted. So remember, those season champions are going to be half price. Don't necessarily. I saw somebody saying they went and they grabbed one of the season champions. If you can be a little more patient, you'll get a discount. You get them for half your time gate pieces. If you just wait 4 more days, run a bunch of time gates, and who knows? In the past, they've given out at least one of the champions for free to everyone. At least one, sometimes 2. So maybe don't try to time gate champions for season 5 yet. Wait until you see who's going to be free. And sometimes that's like all done in the first week. Sometimes it's done a week or 2 in. Just, be a little patient. Yeah, I think we got both Lucius and Ayla free. I just remember there were a couple times where we got multiple champions from the season for free. So wait to do season 5 stuff until season 5 comes out, folks. Valdemar Night Road. Oh, why? Why would you do this to me? If they're pulling from Baldur's Gate 3, will we be getting Volo? Why would we want that hack as a playable champion? Seriously. It's bad enough he shows up and screws up our formations in some of the variants. Like, he legitimately, canonically, is bad to have in your formation in Idle Champions. God. Folks, Volo's a hack. We don't want Volo. Volo isn't an origin character, so hopefully not. Although I will say, well, I don't want to spoiler, but let me say this. I was playing Baldur's Gate 3 on my stream yesterday, and I'll be playing it later on today on my stream, Twitch TV/Gaarawarr. Shameless, utterly shameless plugs, because I got to make a living, folks. So come by and hang out and support the stream. Last stream, I met, one of my favorite characters. from the Forgotten Realms, and it was almost too short. I wanted. I was like, oh, he's cool. Is he going to stay out? Are they going to? Are they? Excuse me. Are they going to stay? I don't want to. Kind of spoil. Are they going to stay in my camp from now on? No. Like the one person I would have wanted to talk to on a regular basis came and bounced, but that's kind of how they work. So it was fun. It was fun. But Volo, if I can't get Volo out of my camp. Can't get Volo out of my camp. I don't want him in my formation on all champions. He would be a champion I would just boycott. I would refuse to use. There's already a champion. There are a couple champions in the game I kind of refuse to use. There's one I specifically refuse to use, and there's probably a couple. There's some I just don't like using. But yeah, Volo I would boycott. Lurking Rider, Morgaine was not mentioned as being one of the 5 main season champions for Season 5. What changes, if any, do you think she might receive and or need? Wow. So here's the thing. This season, Season 4, we had 5 main champions, but then we had changes to other champions. So Drizzt got buffed. Straight up buffed. They just went in and buffed his damage multipliers at multiple places through his power curve. So Drizzt is no longer kind of like, Drizzt is kind of, and is now a definitely viable DPS champion for completing content, early mid game at least. And they buffed, they adjusted Bruenor a bit with some feats and things, and yeah, woohoo! But they weren't even really part of the season, right? So could we see changes to to some Ak Inc. characters that weren't listed? Remember, Ak Inc. is now a larger group. It has Evelyn and Strix in it. It isn't just Jim, Morgaine, Omen, and Vi. Evelyn and Strix have been playing with the A team on the Ak Inc. stage at PAX's for a while now, off and on. So yeah. So they picked the 5 that I feel were in the worst position, and that was everyone but Morgaine. Morgaine's pretty solid. She's not like a shining star, but Morgaine has been a workhorse for a long time. Hyper flexible in terms of her placement in the formation, and delivers a decent buff. Could she use like maybe some minor buffs? Like, would I like to see like some just numbers tweaks like Drizzt got in the background? Sure. She could use that to her scaling based off her gold accumulation over time. Because that's really like what kind of one of her permanent farmable damage bonuses. That would be neat. But I don't think she needed think she needed quite the love that the others in that group needed. Now remember, usually they do major reworks on like 2 champions, and then 2 more might get some minor things, and then 1 is just there to soak up some bonuses, like Artemis this season. We don't know yet how they're making that decision. We will find out in 4 days, or maybe whenever we see the changes. So at least 4 days from now. Obviously, I think everybody understands Vi needed major love. So I think we can all, I'm going to just presume, I'm not going to assume because we know what that does. I'm going to presume Vi's getting some solid help. For the rest of them, I don't know. There's arguments for all the rest of them needing something. Just to make them get used some more. But I don't know where they're going. I do like that we are seeing more Acquisitions Incorporated love, because I mean they're constantly doing new stuff with shows and having new guests and new people start joining their stuff. And I would love to see more of the players from the Ak Inc. stage in the game. Rebuilding this foundational Ak Inc. team now should make it easier to do that, right? Make it so that if those other players arrive in the game in the future, they arrive with a solid team to back them up. Let's see what else we got here. 2 on. I know that most seasonal quests can be completed just by playing, but should I focus on the next season or continue to just progress the gameplay? Acquiring new. Well, you don't have to pick one or the other, and I think that's where a lot of people kind of make the game harder than they need to make it. There are a lot of people that when the season comes out, all they do is try to grind one of these things out to completion, like these milestone quests. I ran not this season, but the previous season. I ran 2 separate accounts. I ran my main, which is this one, so established account with all the stuff, right? And then I ran a brand new player account that was coming in fresh, didn't have anything. And I played through the whole season with both of them. And yes, I finished everything super fast with my main account, to be expected. What shocked me was that just by picking up the season champions and using them in my formations, because not only was it going to help me with this, the rewards were so great that I was getting free gear for them and item levels, and that made them the best champions for me to use in my formations. I was actually able to knock out like 90% of this stuff without even trying to. I did not really grind out anything on that new player account. I just played those champions, and I had almost everything coming into the last week of the season. And then could I targeted a couple seasonal quests that needed to be hunted down and that kind of stuff along the way. But for the most part, it's just play the game, combine all of your goals, look at all of the goals you're trying to achieve, and then see how many you can achieve at once. When a season is active, you definitely you're going to want to then earn all 5 of those champions and then use them in your formations, because they're going to feed themselves tons of item levels just by completing those quests and earning the rewards. And that's going to help you progress in your game. But it's also going to help you achieve all of your other goals of pushing your campaigns and then running time gates and doing events and patrons. And yeah, you can do it all. And you don't have to just focus on one thing and grind until you hate that one thing. Looking right back on top. I don't have to get on topic. On topic? Do you think Ashara needs any tweaks, fine-tuning after her last update? If not, is there anything about or for her other than the tuxedo skin that you'd like to see happen? I mean, look, the Bond Ashara Bond skin is the main one. I think we need a formal wear line of skins for everybody. We already have I think Egbert has his formal wear skin, but Ashara's needs that tux. I don't know. Here's the thing. The core 12 were never really meant to be end game champions, maybe early to mid, and Ashara is a standout. One of just a couple rare standouts in the core 12 that are functional even at endgame. And I would argue that they shouldn't be. Right? If anything, I don't think, like I said, they didn't nerf her. They just made her damage harder to achieve. And maybe at the same time, they probably should have nerfed her so that she wasn't the go-to. And they didn't, but it is what it is. So I don't think they're ever going to touch Ashara again after that. I don't know that there's any reason to. She doesn't need to be made better. They just need to occasionally make sure that as they're adding new races to the game, they put them somewhere in her specializations in a somewhat balanced way. So they're not just making one specialization the go-to all the time, right? But no, not really. Not really. I think she fulfills her role just fine. I think if we're talking about like core champions that maybe have some issues, like I think we were talking about this the other day, Nayeli could use a feat that lets her buff 2 columns behind her. I think that would improve her as a starter champion. Delana's actually in a real. Delana still gets the who? Who's Delana meme? But Delana's a solid DPS option nowadays. Jam Jam is the one that needs probably the most love just to be a viable champion again. Early game, like she just doesn't have a place when you're a new early game to mid game player. There just really is never a time where you're like, oh, Jam Jam. It's Rock Jamila. Like, it's just not a thing. And Archon and the Dark Order need something. They actively fight against each other in terms of their functionality. They are not enjoyable to play together. Yeah. So, I don't know. Oh, we had another question up here. Let's see if I can do it right this time. Hey, I did it right this time. Dawsy asks, are all seasons so far affiliation based? Or is there a chance non-affiliation, older champions like Stoki, Ishii, etc. might get an update if they didn't already recently? So not all of them have been affiliation based. Most of them have been affiliation based. But we had a Ancients and Lawbringers season, which was specifically unaffiliated champions. And those were champions like Human and Birdsong and Barrowin. And 2 others that off the top of my head I can't remember. Somebody could Spurt was in that one, right? Who was the 5th one, chat? So they do create groups of champions that aren't based off an affiliation to in certain ways to put into seasons. They've just only done it once. So Turiel, yes, it was Turiel. They've just only done it once so far. I don't know if they've talked about when that's going to happen again or not. So all I know right now for sure is that Ak Inc. is the next one up. Ak Inc. is the next one up. Artemis is unaffiliated part of the season. I mean, so is Puent, but here's the thing. If you know the Legend of Dritz stories, the books, the 40-something books, you'll know that Artemis and Puent are affiliated with the Companions of the Hall. They are. They're just not in the Companions of the Hall affiliation. Companions of the Hall are five individuals. Brunar, the leader, Caddy Bree, his adopted daughter, Wolfgar, his adopted son, Dritz, Caddy Bree's husband, and Regis. That's it. Those are the Companions of the Hall. That's it. It doesn't. The rest are acquaintances of the Hall. This is why they labeled this the Legends of Mithril Hall, because Puent is a legend of Mithril Hall. Artemis did some pretty amazing stuff outside of Mithril Hall, maybe not some good things. Artemis was kind of back at that point the bad guy, and did not so great things to them, trying to get Dritz to fight him because he wanted to prove he was better. Spoiler alert, he's not. Spoiler alert, he's not. So that's why these were the 5 main champions, and then Brunar and Dritz got some love along with it. But if we're talking about like who all, I mean, it's these 5 plus Brunar and Dritz plus Jarlaxle are all friends. They're all associated. They are all loosely affiliated with each other. Puent even has an ability that lets him contribute to, Mithril Hall stuff, right? Yeah. So it's all kind of in there, and I think, there have been a lot of talk about people wanting more characters from those books. I would love it. I don't know. They've got so many. They've got such a wealth of potential champions to choose from that I don't know if we're ever going to see it. I don't know if we're ever going to see more, but I'm here for it if we do. I have a last question, but it means we're closing the show, and I guess that's time. I guess it's time to close the show. Look, Athergate. Oh, I would love Athergate. To me is a tank support champion. I know he did a lot of DPS, but with Whacker and Clacker, I just feel like you're debuffing enemies and crowd controlling them, and then he would be tanky. I did a whole post once on my desired dwarven formation, but that was when we had heard Olkoria was coming to the game. Didn't know what she does. She would not work in an all dwarf formation. But yeah, I would love Athergate. I want the Fist and Fury, the Tanabrich's sisters, the twin queens of Gauntlgrim. Ivan and Pakel. Yeah. Lurking Rider asks, and this is our final question for today, folks. What song will we be playing at the end of the show? Today it's getting cold. We're doing the Frost Giant song. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. There's no more streams on this channel for the weekend, but like I said earlier, in about a half an hour, probably. Usually I say in an hour-ish, but man, Baldur's Gate 3 calls to me, so I'm going to race and get some food and get back, and we're going to play some Baldur's Gate 3 over on my channel, Twitch TV/Gaarawarr. You can just click on my name and chat, and go follow. And then the streams will return on this channel on Tuesday. But if you're looking for an Idle Champion stream before then, I stream Idle Champions on Monday on my channel for quite a while. Lately, we've been knocking out patron variants to buff up our new friend Commodore Crux. Come join us, ask questions. Questions are always welcome there, and I can usually, go into deeper demonstrations and stuff there as well than usually we have time for over here. That's going to be it, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks, Gabe, for grabbing all the questions, and I will see you all later. Bye, all.
Through the bitter cold, hear our stories told. Stomping through the snow everywhere we go. Reapers of the snow, we will not conform. The winds they call us forth in the frozen north. Hear our horns begin to blow, sending through the snow. Cause we leave nothing left but bones for crows. Heralds of the squall, watch your heroes fall. You will know our power, one and all. We're the lords of the ice, never to be crossed. Children of thrill, pain of the lost, giants of frost. Marching through the street, our boots will crush the meat. We grind you into meat underneath our feet. Shiver in our wake as the ground begins to shake. The breaking of your hope will seal your fate.